Mike McCool here in the Royal Examiner studio, and with me today is Robyn Miller. Robyn is from the Winchester area, something. She said, just call it Watts, and she'll tell me what the acronym stands for. But it's a cooling center. So tell us about that.
The Cooling Center is open in July and August, and it's just a place for them to come inside to get a break from the heat, because as you can imagine, this summer has been intensively hot.
Right.
And it's a place where they can come in and get help they need.
We're talking about homeless.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes,
Okay.
it's actually open to anybody,
Right.
that's our primary focus is people who are currently homeless, and we offer them places to get their identification, job application, housing applications, the kind of services they need to help end their homelessness and really just come inside and be safe from the intense heat of the day.
Who's the backbone of this organization, so to speak? Who's funding this, and who's putting it on, and how many places is it? I mean, this is something I read about in the news.
Yes.
Out in Arizona, they've had temperatures of 20 days over 115, and I grew up there, and I tell you, 115, it's more than a dry heat.
Yeah, it's still hot, no matter how you cut it. It's just hot. So, yes, our basic funders are local churches and individuals.
Okay.
We receive no government funding at all, especially for our day program. Right now, we are always, for the day program, it's in a static place. It's at Market Street United Methodist Church. They very generously let us use their
Churches all
fellowship.
seem to come together when there's a need, don't they?
They do. They have buildings, and they want them to be used for a purpose that will help the community.
We run the air conditioner 7 days a week.
Exactly.
We might as well
have some people in there using it.
Yeah.
And it's very... they can come and go at will.
Okay.
It's our goal is just to get them to come
Encourage
inside
them.
to get help and just not pass out from heat exhaustion, and just give them a safe place where they can sit. It's not always friendly to be sitting outside because people want them to move along. So here you come inside and you can sit and have something to eat or drink and just take a moment to relax.
Fellowship time even.
Yes, and we have volunteers come in and they get to meet with people and talk with people, because being homeless is extremely lonely.
I was just going to say, loneliness leads to a lot of mental problems on its own.
Exactly.
And depression and everything else. And there's nothing worse than being by yourself.
Exactly.
I don't care. You always say, boy, I want some me time. That doesn't last very long.
No.
We're social creatures.
Right.
And we really need to be around people, and homeless is no different. And this is a good place for them to meet and to, maybe like you said, get some help. Are you getting any support from the local social services for some of these services, or are you just kind of directing them to those organizations?
Well, I have 4 staff members that work with all different types of groups and agencies to help get them the services
You're
they
like a
need.
navigator. You're putting them right where they need to go.
We'll help them fill out the forms. We'll take them. Unfortunately, in our area, the DMV is very far away from us. So to getting them out to the DMV to get their identification, and just little things. I mean, to get your birth certificate can be, if you're born in Virginia, it's really easy.
Right.
If you're born outside of the state of Virginia, it's not so easy.
Not so easy.
And everything starts with that birth certificate. So just helping them navigate. There's sadly a lot of barriers in place keeping them homeless. That's what people are like, well, why don't they just... There's no just. It's always so many steps.
And
so
everyone is an individual story. And we don't all get there to go in the same direction,
Exactly.
do we?
No, it doesn't. You have to look at them individually, and we let them lead the way and tell us, okay, where do you want to start? Because once you start the ball rolling, it just keeps growing and growing. Because once they realize, someone's really going to help me get this done.
And they get encouraged.
They get encouraged. Then they get encouraged to keep going.
We have loneliness, but we also have hope.
Yes.
And when we have hope, we can really move in that direction a lot easier.
Exactly.
But when you're hopeless and lonely,
Yeah.
it's very depressing, and then that just leads to, it just builds.
Yeah. And many of them have tried many times to get themselves out of homeless. But as I said, there's been so many barriers put in their place. After a while, they're just like,
They just give up.
why keep trying? I mean, we had a guest. It took us 11 different forms of supporting documentation to get his birth certificate out of the state of Pennsylvania.
Right.
And that still took 4 months. That was 4 months where he couldn't get an ID, which meant he couldn't get a job. He couldn't even rent a hotel room. He had no way to prove who he was.
Right.
And imagine, could you survive on the streets for 4 months?
Yeah.
And most people couldn't.
No.
So
They say we're all 2 weeks away from homelessness. If we don't get paid for 2 weeks, we're really in trouble.
Yes.
Yes,
And many of them are. They've lost their jobs. They've had an illness. Illness is another one. Imagine getting sick and you don't have disability to help take care of you.
Right.
You're going to be homeless.
That's right. This cooling thing, though, is really a great idea. How long have you been doing it?
We started it in 2021 during COVID. Our guests, we have a winter day program also, but my guests came to me and said, it's actually just as bad in the summer as it is in the winter in Virginia. Right. And we're like, okay. So we're always trying to find new ways to meet the needs of the homeless and how we can best serve them and help them, because we really do want to end their homelessness.
And that thing, and I was talking, we mentioned earlier, we talked about Michelle Smeltzer and the things they're doing here in Warren County.
It's wonderful.
And they always have, every year, they always have, I want to call a graduate, so to speak, but someone that gets a little helping hand and moves out, moves up. And so that really helps drive, the whole organization gets a lot of, hey, it happened.
Yeah, Watts and the Front Royal area thermal shelter, we're dealing with people who are chronically homeless, people who have been homeless for a long time. So it's
to get that one win is really a big thing.
It's difficult because you're dealing with a lot of challenges, but once it works, it's wonderful, and it spurs you forward to keep going.
Yeah, it gives you that hope, doesn't it?
It does. It gives us that hope that it's going to change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like we're actually doing some good.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yes.
Other than just keeping them warm and keep people.
Well, that's important
cool.
too. You don't want. And I mean, Watts was founded because a man froze to death on the city streets of Winchester.
Right.
If we're really a loving community, we would not let our residents die on the streets like that. That's not acceptable.
Except for the grace of God, there goes I.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. So true, and we don't really realize that sometimes.
Yes.
Right. I always like Ziegler's statement: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yes.
And it's so true in our life, and we need to really, help our neighbor. The thing is, we help it. And what they do, it's always like they say, well, if I help that guy, he'll just go buy drugs. That's not the issue. I think that's on him.
Yes.
We've done our duty. We've helped him, and then it's up to him to do the next, or her to do the next step. So,
you never know. You might have given that person the one help they needed to change them forever.
That's right. So, it doesn't hurt to help your fellow man.
No.
And so we need to do that. So what's the next step? We're going to plug away till September, and then we're going to start the thermal part, right?
Exactly. We shut down and we open again on November 11th, and we start all over again for the winter. We do open and close simply because we don't want them to make this a lifestyle choice. I mean, I do wish I had a day program year round, but I need a building for that and more funds.
Sure.
But we want them to move on, and we always work hard to get them to move on to something more long term than a temporary shelter if we can, and if they're open to that, and we think they can meet the challenges, because missions and other shelters are going to require things of them that they have to be willing to do, and so we're always moving on to that.
We almost think that, everybody's got a driver's license or identification. It's amazing how many people don't.
Yes.
Yeah. Even people that are not homeless.
Yes, it is. It amazes me. We get calls all the time from people asking, well, can you take, I know you go out to the DMV, can you take us too? Because we have no way to get there.
Right.
And we beg the DMV to come into Winchester every once in a while, but they're short-staffed at the moment and
I can remember years ago, back when in the 70s and 80s, the DMV did that. They had a mobile DMV.
Yeah, they do. Yes,
they do. They went around. Do they still do that?
They used to, but right now,
in places where there's no office.
Yes, but they're right now, I think, just having staffing issues, and they can't do that.
I think everyone is having staffing.
Exactly, but luckily,
issues.
once again, Braddock Street United Methodist Church and Burton Factory, they all have church vans, and they'll let us use them, and we bus them all out there, and they knock us all out really quick so we can get all those IDs in a row.
Line them up, right?
Yeah.
That's so great. Well, Robyn, it sounds like your organization is making a difference. And I think that's what all of us can really want. What we're going to do is we're going to put the information in the story.
Yes.
We'll put links to your website and your Facebook page and whatever else, and contact information where people can get hold of you. And you're accepting donations.
We are going to be at Bridgeport Stadium with the
Winchester Royals.
Winchester Royals. I always want to say the Warren County Royals, but they're the Winchester Royals.
Well, we're the Front Royal Cardinals.
Okay. And I knew it was wrong. On the, I always want to get these dates wrong, the 20th, the 22nd, and the 23rd.
Right.
And we were just asking people to bring in donations for the cooling center, like coffee and powdered creamer and snacks
Sure.
and Gatorade, or they're welcome to make a cash donation. But 100% of our food for these centers is donated, which saves us an amazing amount of money.
Right.
If you had to feed them all, it would be
Yeah.
it would bankrupt us. So we're very
Yeah.
grateful for all the food donations
Yeah.
that come in.
We all eat.
Yes, and it's always, it gets a lot of people in the door. Oh, there's food there?
Well, that's kind of like I said. You want to put on an event, you got to have food.
Exactly.
It's like you have a wedding, got to have food.
Yep.
Got to have
exactly.
a funeral, got to have food.
Yep.
You notice that? Just think about it. Everything has food in it.
It does.
That's what draws the crowd.
It does. It gets them to come in. And plus, a lot of our homeless, actually all of our homeless, have no way to cook.
Right.
They don't have, people are like, they can go to a food bank and get food. It's like, where they're
Yeah.
going to cook it.
We did that. We have a food bank at the church, and you're right. We had to start changing what the kind of items we were carrying. So what can we, if we do have to cook it, it's got to be able to fix it in a microwave.
Exactly.
And what can we do that's not,
Yeah, that's prepared already.
to do it. So it's changed the whole dynamics.
Yes.
10 years ago, it was all about people needed something to cook, and
Right.
fix. And it's completely changed.
If you don't have a kitchen, yeah.
They're living in a motel. They're doing this and that.
Yes, lots,
That's
unfortunately.
a big thing on that.
Yes,
So.
a lot of families.
Well, we'll
in
follow
motels.
up with this. Let us know when you get done in September. Come back. We'll talk about it. We'll do a little talk about the thing that's going on. Maybe
Wonderful.
we'll get you and Michelle to come in together.
That would be great.
And then we
Yes.
can kind of share our secrets of how we can get these programs up and running better and encourage our public to donate to these organizations.
And volunteer.
And volunteer.
And volunteer, too.
Sometimes it's almost worth more than the money.
Yes, we could not. It takes us well over 2,000 volunteers for the winter program. So it's not we need you there. It's not a fun thing. Yeah.
Right. So sometimes you can't donate money. Donate your time.
Yes.
There's tons of organizations, and this sounds like a really good one.
Thank
So
you.
we appreciate it, Robyn. Thank you so much.
Okay.